Smile. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to Congregation Beit Tikva, our house of hope. We're delighted to have you with us for our Shabbat services. Welcome to Cantor Ephraim Herrera, our dear beloved Cantor, and Wendy Dankoff, our clarinetist and saxophonist and flautist. Sax free. So we're beginning tonight's service with a beautiful melody, Kol Ha'olam Kulo, Gesher Tsar Ma'od. You'll find it in the middle of page 643 in your prayer book, on page 643.
Kol Ha'olam Kulo, Gesher Tsar Ma'od, Gesher Tsar Ma'od, Gesher Tsar Ma'od, Kol Ha'olam Kulo, Gesher Tsar Ma'od, Gesher Tsar Ma'od, Kol Ha'olam Kulo, Gesher Tsar Ma'od, Gesher Tsar Ma'od, Gesher Tsar Ma'od.
Second melody for welcoming in the Sabbath. We'll turn to page 636. The words are from Yedid Nefesh, my heart's delight, source of mercy, draw your servant into your arms, on 636.
Yedid Nefesh, Ishmach
Yofi. Let's turn now to the blessing over the Shabbat candles. If you go back in the beginning of the Siddur on page 121, top of 121, we'll read together, and then the Cantor will lead us in the bracha. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Let's read together. We're on page 125. Where has this week vanished? Is it lost forever? Will I ever recover anything from it? The joy of life, the unexpected victory, the realized hope, the task accomplished. Will I ever be able to banish the memory of pain, the sting of defeat, the heaviness of boredom? On this day, let me keep for a while what must drift away. On this day, let me be free of the burdens that must return. On this day, Shabbat abide. Help me to withdraw for a while from the flight of time, contain the retreat of the hours and days from the grasp of frantic life. Let me learn to pause, if only for this day. Let me find peace on this day. Let me enter into a quiet world on this day. On this day, Shabbat abide. We turn to the Psalms which usher in the Sabbath Eve, and we always begin, as you know, with Psalm 95. We're on page 130 in our Siddur. Psalm 95.
Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, Adonai. Naria, letzun yeshenu, v'tamafana
Together in the middle of the page. Come, let us sing joyously to Adonai. Raise a shout for our rock and deliverer. Let us come into God's presence with praise. Let us raise a shout for God in song. For Adonai is a great God, the great ruler of all divine beings. In God's hand are the depths of the earth. The peaks of the mountains are God's. God's is the sea, God made it, and the land which God's hands fashioned. Come, let us bow down and kneel, bend the knee before Adonai our Maker. For Adonai is our God, and we are the people God tends, the flock in God's care. Oh, if you would but heed God's charge this day. So we're coming to Psalm 29, which is one of the great Psalms in the first part of the book of Psalms. There are 4 sections to the Tehillim. And this psalm has many mystical aspects to it. First of all, it uses the phrase, call Adonai, the voice of the Lord, the voice of Hashem, 7 times, which is an allusion to the 7 days of creation. It's also an allusion to the fact that there are 7 psalms that welcome in the Sabbath day. And it speaks really about God's sweeping majesty, God's sovereignty over all the earth, over all of life and civilization.
מזמור לדוד, הבו לאדוני בני אלים, הבו לאדוני כבוד ועוז, הבו לאדוני כבוד שמו, השתחוו לאדוני בהדרת קודש, כל אדוני על המים, אל הכבוד הרים, אדוני על מים רבים, כל אדוני בכוח, כל אדוני בהדר, כל אדוני שובר ארזים, וישבר אדוני את ארצי הלבנון, וירכינם כמו עגל, לבנון וסיריון, כמו בן רמים. כל אדוני חוצף להבות אש, כל אדוני יכיל מדבר, יכיל אדוני מדבר קדש, כל אדוני יחולל איילות.
So we lift up our voices again with the beautiful melody of Lecha Dodi, one of the traditional Shabbat table songs, so to speak, traditional Shabbat, Kabbalat Shabbat songs. Shamor v'zachor, remember and observe the Sabbath. So we are singing together verses 1, 2, and 9. We're on page 138.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, Shabbat nekabela, likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mekor habracha, merosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'mashmat tchila. Lecha dodi dodi, lecha dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Bo'il לשלום על Herrera, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, טוב למונה ים סגולה, בואי כלה בואי כלה. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela.
So if you're able and you're standing with us, then we'll turn over to the Chatzi Kaddish, the half Kaddish. We're on page 144 as we join with our Cantor. יתקדש ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא
ויברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל. בגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יש מרבה מברך לעלם עלמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתהלל שמד קודשו ברכו לילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה נמירן בעלמה ויאמרו amen.
We turn the page, we lift up our voices for the Baruch Hu. We're all together on page 146.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
Let's read together. We're in the middle of 148. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzebaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Amariv Aravim. The second blessing, giving thanks to God for the mitzvot, all the commandments, page 150. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Together the Shema Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kavod, Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
So if you're comfortable, be seated. Turn the page. We continue as we always do with the words from the Ahavta, Deuteronomy chapter 6. We're on 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha v'chol nafshecha v'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ela asher anochi mitzavcha hayom alevavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'divarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha v'lechtecha b'derech v'shachtecha u'kamecha v'shartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'einenecha v'chtatam al mezuzot beitecha v'yisharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Amen. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home, when you are away, when you lie down, and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand. Let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God. Adonai Elohechem Emet. So we turn to the words of the words of Michamocha from Exodus chapter 15. And in our prayer books, we're on 158. So we come to the Hashkivenu, this beautiful melody and blessing, asking God to shelter us beneath the shadow of the divine wings, the Shekhinah, to protect us on the Sabbath day and evening. We're on 160. Wendy is going to do the flute for us with our Cantor on 160. Let's turn the page. We're on 162, and we're going to have a different arrangement this Sabbath evening for the Vishamru. Top of page 162. So we come to the 7 essential blessings of the Shabbat evening service, the Tefillah. Let's turn to page 164. If you're comfortable and able, please stand up and sing with us, chant with us. We always begin, as you know, with a verse from Psalm 51. And then the first blessing is on page 166.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, and my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor HaNorah, Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'Korei HaKol, וזוכר חסדי עבור ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, לחייך כל הקרב להושיע, מחייך חיים בחסד, מחייך כל ברחמים רבים, צומח נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, כמוך ועל גבורות, ומדרום אלך, מלך ממית ומחייב, ומצביע ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, בחיי הכל.
In the middle of 170, the third blessing. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh. Let's all be seated. We continue with the fourth blessing in English on 173. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. May this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh haShabbat. We continue with the Ritzei. In English on page 175, top of page 175. Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayers. Wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands, you are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, shotcha levadcha yirah na'avot. We come to the prayer of thanksgiving, the Modim. Let's read together. We're on 177. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth, which day by day sustains us. For all these and more we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. And we conclude with is Shalom Rav, the seventh blessing. We're on page 178.
Shalom Rav al Israel Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Israel Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Israel Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Israel Amcha Tasim Leolam. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים
Let's pause now for our own personal prayers. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you. Be acceptable to you. Lord, my rock and my redeemer, At this moment in our service, we always pause to reflect upon our lives, our loved ones, family, friends, congregants, all those whom we cherish, and many who need a special blessing, a special uplifting on this Sabbath day. So if you'll turn, please, to page 371. We'll sing in just a moment with our cantor. Let's think of some of our own dear friends and family members in need of a blessing for this Shabbat. We think of Herrera, Cantor Ephraim's father. And we think of our congregants, Doreen Hertig, Lynn Kelly, Flo Vinnick, Arlene Vinnick, Bonnie Cantor, Kate Shane, and dear friends, we also think of Jim Taylor. Do we have a few
Alma Dankoff.
And Alma Dankoff.
My sister Elisheva.
And many, many others across the country where we take them into our own personal hearts. So let's sing together with Wendy and Cantor, Ephraim. We're in the middle of page 371 for the Mishaberach. The Shabbat is a special Shabbat, as is every Sabbath, because it's an intimation of the Messianic time. It's a chance to renew, recharge our spiritual batteries. It's also a chance to learn, to study, to inquire, to delve into the words of Torah. As you know, this is a double parashah, a double sedra for this Sabbath. It's called Achremot. And then also we read Kiddushim. It all depends on the lunar calendar. Since this year is a 12-month calendar, this is one of 7 times where we have to read 2 parashiot on the Sabbath day. I won't go into much detail about the Torah portions. Achremot is all about family purity, and some of which is read in the more traditional synagogues on Yom Kippur morning. Kiddushim, as you know, is the plural form of the word kadosh, meaning holy. It's one of the most powerful chapters, so to speak, in Torah. And this whole section is called the Holiness Code, in part because in the midst of chapter 19 of Leviticus are various ethical and moral teachings which amplify and mirror the teachings of the Ten Commandments, but go even further in talking about how we deal with our fellow human beings.
Rabbi, Achremot is it the death of?
Yeah, Achremot means, at the very beginning says, after the death of Nadav and Avihu, who were 2 of Aaron's sons. And there's a brief mention of that. And then it goes on to talk about consecration of the priests, and then in the next chapter in 18 speaks about family purity. So let's talk a little bit about holiness, since the second parashah is called holiness. It's called Kiddushim. Why is it so important? Well, on a simple level, part of its importance lies in the fact that the Levites had to minister to the sacrificial needs of all the people, and they, in a sense, had to be purified. They had to be completely holy in order to do the right rituals for the people themselves. But it's not, this business of holiness is not simply a matter of that which devolves upon the shoulders of priests or ministers or Levites or rabbis, because the Torah tells us that everyone is holy. It's kind of the democratization of the idea of holiness. You know, in other ancient civilizations, in Sumerian, Egyptian, so forth, Ugaritic civilizations, only a certain class of people were quote unquote holy. But in Jewish life, if you read the Torah carefully, you understand that everybody can be holy. And holiness as a quality or an essence of being a human being is not restricted to simply the Levites or the Kohanim. It is something that God is telling us all of us can strive to be holy. That's part of our task as human beings. So let's say for a moment what holiness is not. As I said, it's not given over to just a select group of spiritual leaders. I was always amazed back 20, 30 years ago when I watched so many friends and congregants go off to ashrams to find teaching and meaning from various gurus from the Far East, that many of these people believed that it was only if they were in the presence of a guru that they would find true holiness. And to me, that was antithetical to what Torah really says, because Torah demands of us that you and I try and live our own personal life in a holy way. In other words, daily living is part of holy living. Holiness is not set aside over here, which we might grab a hold of and eat a chocolate cookie once in a while, and then the rest of life is over there. Holiness is integrated into ourselves. It says in Torah, "Speak to the whole congregation of the children of Israel, say to them, you shall be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy." In other words, we're trying to imitate or mirror the behaviors or the teachings of the divine. So how do we attain holiness? If it's right there in front of us, how do we get a hold of it? How do we do it? We do it by honoring our parents. We do it by observing the Sabbath. We do it by being kind to the needy, taking care of the stranger, which is a principle, a Torah teaching that's repeated over and over again in the Torah. How to be holy? Pay your wages, pay the wages of your employees promptly. Be honest in your business dealings. Refrain from talebearing and slandering anybody. Also, as you know, one of the most famous verses in this chapter of holiness is, love your neighbor as yourself. So that in itself is a hard concept or a hard idea to swallow. I always remember one of my professors saying, it's not about love, it's about respect. Showing as much respect for our neighbors as we would want them to show respect towards us. And ultimately acting justly, acting justly. There's the old adage that an employer caught the spirit of this idea of holiness. He's looking for a new worker, and he looks at the resumes and he sees on one of the resumes from one of his potential employees, oh, you've got 3 references from ministers. But I thought ministers basically work on the weekends, so could you please give me a reference for somebody who knows you all the days of the week? Because the way we act in a holy manner depends on what we do on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, not just on the Sabbath, right? Rabbi Schachter, remember Solomon Schechter, who was the great leader of the conservative movement in the early 1900s. Rabbi Schachter was the man who went to the Cairo Geniza and retrieved many of the famous, the lost fragments, scrolls in the Cairo Geniza in Egypt that hadn't been seen literally in 1400 years. And he spent the last decades of his life translating those rabbinic texts from the Cairo Geniza. He said, where are the Jewish saints? He said, in other communities you find saints on the walls of churches. But where are Jewish saints? He said, Jewish saints are not separate. They're not up on the wall or in a stained glass window. Jewish saints are ordinary men and women who work in the daily path of life to help other human beings. And every one of us can achieve that degree of sainthood. These are the words, I think, that embody all of what I've been trying to say from the conservative Machzor, from the High Holiday prayer book. There is holiness when we strive to be true to the best we know how to be. There is holiness when we are kind to someone who cannot possibly be of service to us in any way. There is holiness when we promote family harmony. There is holiness when we forget what divides us and remember what unites us. There is holiness when we're willing to be laughed at for what we truly believe in. There is holiness when we love, truly, honestly, unselfishly. There is holiness when we remember the lonely, the needy, and bring cheer to a dark corner. And there is holiness when we share what we have, our bread, our sustenance, our ideas, our enthusiasm. Truly, all of us can strive to be holy. Shabbat Shalom. Special things happening in the coming week. This next Shabbat, we will be here in our sanctuary.
In
person. In person.
Yay.
We welcome you all to come and join us in person if you're in the area. We're going to have a wonderful Friday night service next Friday, April 30th at 6:30 p.m. 6:30 p.m. Cantor Ephraim will be singing. Wendy and Alma will be playing music. And it'll be very exciting to have a Shabbat service with many folks with a minyan here in our building.
We're gonna rock the house.
This has not happened since last February of 2020. So if you're able to join us, come and celebrate and sing with us. Any other special things for the coming week? Oh, Sunday, well, tomorrow morning we have Torah study on Zoom. Sunday at 5 o'clock we have happy hour, Beit Tikva happy hour on Zoom. Yes. The same special number, 367, whatever it is. Join us at 5 o'clock on Zoom, and we'll all lift up our goblets for whatever we may wish to imbibe. Our closing prayers, thank you again to Lela for recording this service. Thank you to Wendy Dankoff for all the beautiful music. Thank you again to our Cantor. Chazak ve'amatz, be strong and be strengthened by Torah. We're on page 586 for the closing prayers, 586. Please rise for the Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה לעוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים. לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד. ושמו
Let's read together on top of 591 before we come to the Mourner's Kaddish on 591. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Love each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand, but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, freedom, and of peace. On this Sabbath evening, we recall all the loved ones whom death has taken from us. During the period of Shloshim, we remember Lela Dawkins, brother of Lela. On this Shabbat, we recall with love and devotion Beverly Deacon McNichol, cousin of Stuart and Connie Rosenberg. Ruth Maslow, father of Marvin Maslow. Phyllis Nye, friend of Lynn Kelly. Nathan Rubenstein, the uncle of Barb Lamont. Jonah Sherman, cousin of Lynn Kelly. Bernard J. Levy, my father. And also Allison Kaplan, who's a longtime friend of Rabbi Hellman's. May their names always be remembered for a blessing. Let's read together the Kaddish. We're on 598 together. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba, be'alma v'yirava yirutei, v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yom echon, uv'chayei l'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala b'zman kariv v'yivru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevorach, le'olam amen hamayla. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbahar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh, Yittadar v'yitaled v'yitalal, shmei b'kudusha v'richu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechmata, damiran v'yama v'yimru, amen. Yehei shlomo rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru, amen. Oseh shalom v'yimromav, hu yaseh shalom, Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru, amen. May the Holy One who creates harmony on high bring us peace, bring peace to all of the family of Israel, the house of Israel, the land of Israel. We say together, amen.
Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru, amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael.
Let's lift up the cup of wine for the sanctification, for the Kiddush. And the words are on page 123 in your prayer book.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kadsho b'ahava u'ratzon kinchilanu. Zikaron lema'aseh bereshit, ki hu yom techila lemikrae kodesh, zechel metziat Mitzrayim. Kivanu v'acharta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim. Shabbat Kadshecha, Yahava uvratzon, Hinchalekanu. מקדש השבת. אמן. חיים טובים, שבת שלום לכולם.
Shabbat Shalom.
Right.